Good afternoon and welcome to Inside Politics, a segment on the BD show where we explore key developments in both national and international politics. I'm Inyabang. Today on the program, we will be reviewing Monday's April 7th protest by the Take It Back movement. Youth in different states across the country thrown the streets to protest despite warning from the police. The protest, which is part of a nationwide demonstration, was spearheaded by the Take It Back movement and other civil society organizations across the country. They were protesting against the Cyber Crime Act, declaration of a state of emergency rule in Rivers State, and the cost of living in Nigeria, among other issues. The protest was held in Abuja, Lagos, Port Harcourt, Ibadan, and Edo. To get more insight about the protest and what the demand of the organizers are, I'm joined on the program by Juwon Sanwo-Olu, the National Coordinator of Take It Back movement. Good afternoon, Juwon, and welcome to Inside Politics.
Yeah, good afternoon, and thanks for having me. And
yes, good to have you on the program.
My name is Juwon Sanwo-Olu, not Sanwo-Olu.
Yeah, Sanwo-Olu, sorry. Sanwo-Olu, I meant to say. So we saw the protests across in some states across the country. Could you tell us why did your group decide to take the protest?
Yeah, the protest happened nationwide at across 16 states actually, and as you rightly pointed out, it was a protest over repeal of the Cybercrime Act, and we are calling for the reversal of the illegal emergency rule that had been declared by the government of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And in a general sense, we were equally calling for good governance. Generally, going by the economic indices of the country, things have gotten far worse than they were even last year.
Yes.
And so these are some of the issues our protest is bringing to the fore.
We saw the warning by the police first that your group should not go ahead with the protest. But then we saw, despite that, even though Lagos was a little bit peaceful, we marched in Ikeja to the state assembly, and then you're supposed to go inside, but the police could not allow you. But in some states, it was not the same thing. In Port Harcourt, we saw there was the police tear gassed your group, and there was people were running helter-skelter. In Oyo State, the same thing happened. Could you tell us how did the protest go across the state? Was it a success?
I think it's the actions of the police and that of the federal government is disgraceful and the total embarrassment on a democracy. If we still think we're practicing democracy in Nigeria, it is a peaceful protest is a right under the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, their own constitution, and it is clearly stated what the role of the police should be in protest. In protest, the role of the police is not to repress, attack, or advise against protest. It is not the job. The job of the police is to maintain law and order during the course of protest, protect protesters. So that is the role police are meant to play in the middle of protest. They are not even meant to ask protesters where to protest or where not to protest. This would clearly contravene the provisions of the Constitution, which gives right to peaceful assembly, right to protest, and right to freedom of movement, so to speak. The violence unleashed on protesters, especially in places like Rivers, that actually saw two of our comrades taken to the hospital for treatment. We had a situation in Yobe where four people were arrested. That is in Yobe State. And in Abuja, two other persons were arrested. In addition to the violent crackdown we all saw everywhere. So we're not going to allow the police to get away with this tradition of repression and suppression of the democratic right of Nigerians. As a matter of fact, the protest yesterday is central to our democratic values as a country. So in a situation where we are protesting, in a situation where a protest is organized to call attention of government to the growing repression of free speech and the civic space entirely. The reaction of the police yesterday, so the day before
On
yesterday on
Monday,
April
yes.
7th, on Monday, justified exactly why we are protesting against the increasing repression of the civic space, and we're going to challenge it.
The protest was just a warning strike. You said, you told me.
Yeah.
Does this, and you did you give this as your group gave the government some time to meet your demands, or what if these demands are not met? What will happen? Is this a warning
Definitely,
strike? Does that mean that you said you are coming back with full force?
yes, that means we're coming back. We're coming back. If the government has more than enough time to address our demands with regards to the repeal of the Cybercrime Act, the reversal of the lawless emergency rule in reverse, the government has ample opportunity, has as much time as now to fix some of these issues, without which we will be back on the street, and this time, remember what we did. Remember last year. Last year we had a warning protest in June on June 12th. The government thought we were joking. Then we came back August with a 10 days protest. This time around, we are out again in April, and definitely, if the government fails to address our demands as soon as now, then they should expect more protests this time around, and this time around is going to be much more bigger than what we had last year. And I must also inform that we have started mobilizing again. And yes, mobilization has started already, because, like I did say earlier, day before yesterday, April 7 was a warning action, and we are prepared to go back to the streets anytime soon.
But the federal government has said your group did not dialogue with them enough. That protest shouldn't be the last resort. Should be like the last resort. It shouldn't be something dialogue with government and see if we have we can resolve issues rather than going on
Dialogue back,
protest. Did
dialogue,
your group try
dialogue,
to dialogue with the federal government to see how some of your demands could be meet with National
that
Assembly members to see how some of these demands could be addressed?
who did the government dialogue with before they imposed the Cybercrime Act 2024? Who did the government dialogue with before he imposed emergency rule in Rivers State? He did it because he thinks he could do it and he can get away with it. We don't need a dialogue. The same way he imposed this lawless act, the lawless military rule, in the same vein, he should reverse it.
Okay, some of your members were not arrested in Rivers State because I saw somewhere said one or two members were arrested. Have you,
No,
your state, what happened?
no, no
Have you
one.
are you in touch with them?
Yes, I'm in touch with them. No one was arrested in Rivers State, but they were violently repressed to the extent that two of them ended up in the hospital.
Okay, some people said the protest turnout was poor. Does that mean your group did not mobilize, or well, the information was not there for the public, or
Said the
was it?
same
Was
too.
this? I know some civil society also joined.
They said the same thing too when we did June 12th. Look at how we came back August last year. The truth of the matter, like I said earlier, this is a warning action. The government is at liberty to dare the Nigerian people. The same way they dared the Nigerian people June 12th last year, and the Nigerian people proved them wrong in the month of August last year with a 10 days nationwide protest. So the government is at liberty to dare the Nigerian people again, and take them for granted, because that's obviously their stock in trade. They've always taken the Nigerian people for granted, imposed many neoliberal policies on the people of Nigeria because they think that we can't do anything. It is the policies, anti-people policies they've imposed on the people of Nigeria is the reason today over 120 million Nigerians are living far below the poverty line. Our elected, so it's yeah, it's the government is, like I said, the government is at liberty to take the Nigerian people for granted until when we come out again and say enough is enough.
No, I asked that question on the basis of the fact that we've seen protests in the past in Nigeria that attract a lot of people. Look at the 2012 protest against fuel subsidy removal, but during the Jonathan administration, we saw how Ojota was packed. But these days, we see protests, 3 or 4 people. I mean, the crowd is not there, just like it's not just like we used to see in the past. What do you think is responsible?
Before you had Occupy Nigeria 2012, there
Yes.
were top protests in places like Kano, Lagos, and Abuja before the street eventually became paralyzed few days after. In 2020, before we had NSAS, the massive NSAS protests in 2020, we had we've had series of other protests on SARS in 2017, 2019, which in fact 2019 there was justice. The NSAS protest was about justice for Kolade and justice for Tina, and then in 2020 we had October 1 protest before we then got to that's October 1, 2020.
Yes.
Just barely 4 days after, we had a nationwide NSAS protest that shut down the country. And our organization was there for all of it in terms of mobilization, organizing nationwide and in the diaspora. The same thing happened in 2024. June, we had a warning action, and then we were taken for granted. The Nigerian people threw out a mass in August for 10 days of wage. So, like I said earlier, the government is at liberty to keep daring the Nigerian people, but by the time the cup will be full, I'm sure they would. Like I said, let them keep daring the people of Nigeria, and just the way the Nigerian people have spoken to them the language they understand. Soon, it's going to repeat itself again this year,
What is your
and
view?
this
A lot
time.
of Nigerians say during the Jonathan administration, we see a lot of civil society who are active, talking about governance, failure of governance. But in these days, we don't seem to see there are few civil society talking, and for them have remained docile. What's your take on what is happening?
Mm. Yeah. You said, can you please repeat yourself? Sorry,
I
I
mean,
was a bit
I remember
distracted.
speaking to the late King Odumaki just before he died. I asked him, I mean, some months before he died, I asked him what is wrong with civil society in Nigeria. During the military era, during the Jonathan administration, we saw how active civil society were, vocal about government policies, criticizing and also offering the way out. But these days, we don't seem to see much of civil society talking. A lot of them have remained docile. What is responsible? What do you think is responsible? Apart from the take it back movement, maybe one other.
So let me tell you what the government of Tinubu has successfully done. Right? What the end goal of government Tinubu wants to create an authoritarian state. He wants to create a one-party state, and everything he has done points to that fact. Number one, the APC is hijacking political parties, right, in the country. That's number one. Number two is that they are taking over many civil society organizations the same way they're doing with the trade unions, and they've done with the student movement. And then in addition, they are imposing an atmosphere of fear
Mm.
on civil, especially on civil society. For instance, my organization last year, our bank account was frozen. Till now, still the account of my organization is still frozen. They intimidated Serap. They are intimidating almost every organization. So I was speaking with you, for instance. The government got a lawless, ridiculous court injunction to restrict my movement, and they did that not just me, so other different other leaders of our organization. So look at how they attacked the NLC last year, invading a secretariat and harassing people, secretariat workers. So this is the kind of government you have. The fact is that the Tinubu government does not want opposition voices. He also look at how he's been going after journalists
Yes, yes.
like Bayo Shoyombo
Yeah.
and many others. Look at the case of Dele Farotimi. Look at the case of Omoyele Shuwere. Look at the case of several other social media users, especially those on TikTok and Twitter. So what the government is trying to create is trying to the government of Tinubu is trying to mold an authoritarian state.
Thank you very much.
Is
Thank you very
one
much,
party.
Juwon Sonyaolu. is the national coordinator of Take It Back movement. Thanks for joining us on the program and giving us insight on Monday's protest.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll be back after the break to get more insight on the crisis in Labour Party. Stay tuned on the program.
You are watching Business Day Television.
I still watching Inside Politics on BDTV. I'm still your host, Inyobongi Work. Today, on this segment of the program, we are exploring the Labour Party crisis and what lies ahead for the party ahead of 2027 general election. The leadership crisis rocking the Labour Party appears not to be ending soon. This is after Julius Abure-led faction insisted that he remains the party's national chairman, despite the Friday's Supreme Court ruling. In the judgment, the Supreme Court set aside the judgment of the Court of Appeal in Abuja, which recognizes Abure as the national chairman of the Labour Party. In an unanimous judgment, a 5-man panel of the Appeal Court rules that the Court of Appeal lacked the jurisdiction to pronounce Abure as the national chairman of the LP. The court ruled that issues of leadership are internal affairs of a political party over which courts lack jurisdiction, and noted that Abure's tenure had since expired. Today, the camp led by Peter Obi and Abure have called for stakeholders meeting in Abuja and are discussing the future of the party. To understand this better, I am joined on the program today by Temitope Musowo, public policy expert and political analyst from University of Ibadan. Good afternoon, Tope. Welcome to the program.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
The LP has been in crisis since after the 2020 general election. What is your assessment of what is happening in the party?
Well, it is expected with the popularity of the party and the near victory outing of the party in the 2023 general election. You can be sure that it is not the Labour Party alone that is bedeviled with this political crisis. Even the ruling party is emerged in similar crisis, and it's expected of any political party that is popular for that matter.
But you will say, of course, what we say that any party will have a crisis, would be in crisis. But this LP crisis seems not to be ending, and it appears some people are hell-bent on pulling the party down, or they are benefiting from this crisis, or they don't want this crisis resolved. Do you agree? What is your opinion on that? Some people don't want this crisis to end.
Well, yes. I think why it's like that is because as it stands today, the only formidable opposition party in Nigeria is the Labour Party, and it's a party to beat. Don't forget that Nigerians have been yearning for a credible alternative to the ruling party and the PDP, and the Labour Party seems to be that credible alternative, and that is why this crisis you are seeing in Labour Party, it's about 2027. You discover that this started shortly after the 2023 general election, where Labour parties got over 6-point-something million votes. So you can be sure that it's about the battle for 2027. So it is expected. It's just about the Labour Party putting its house in order and managing these crises to be able to be the party to be the party to beat, just as it has been after the 2023 election.
We saw the ruling last Friday by the Supreme Court, which says that that the Abure tenure has long expired, and that the party should go it is the party that should decide who leader should be. One will have thought that Abure and their camp and the Peter Obi camp will have find a way to settle this issue amicably, and just for the future of the party and for the members. Especially the fact that 2027 is not far from here. But shortly after that, the Abure camp issued a statement that the judgment did not say that they are no more in charge, that they still remain in charge. Abure still remain the national chairman, and they call a separate meeting today in Abuja. The Peter Obi faction and the Abia State Governor Oti's faction are meeting today also. Are you surprised that Abure is still insisting that head bent on becoming the national chair of the party, rather than finding a way to resolve these issues?
Okay, let me respond to this by starting with a disclaimer that I have not really read or have not seen the CTC copy of that Supreme Court judgment. Neither am I a lawyer, but let's put this in perspective. Julius Abure, as the national chairman of the Labour Party, his tenure expired in April 2023. Then the National Executive Council of the Labour Party decided to extend his tenure till June 2025. Then, after which the INEC stopped to recognize him as the national chairman of the party. Then there was a convention purportedly held by the Abure faction of the Labour Party, where he emerged as the leader, and this convention seems not to be recognized by INEC
by the Peter Obi faction.
Is that?
Yeah, the convention was disputed by the Peter Obi faction. They said it was not all inclusive.
Yes, even the INEC did not recognize the convention. They did not recognize the emergence of Julius Abure as the national chairman from that convention, and that was the basis of him going to court. Testing that in court, where the Federal High Court's ruled in his favor that he should be recognized as the chairman of the party, then appeal court as well. But the latest judgment by the apex court in the land, the Supreme Court, which set aside that particular judgment on the fact that it is the business of the political party to decide about their leadership.
Yes.
My own interpretation of that is that ruling has set aside, has put an end to the tenure of Julius Abure as the national chairman of the party. But going forward, how the party now manage this, I'm aware that the Julius Abure faction of the Labour Party is still holding claim to the leadership of the party. Going by the last convention, their own interpretation is that now that that Supreme Court has said they should go back and follow the constitution of the party has the right to decide who is their leader, to decide about the leadership of the party. That means the convention they had still hold. That is their own interpretation. And supposedly a NEC meeting was held that on Monday by the Julius Abure faction, which also upheld that particular convention, why the Nadi Usman caretaker committee is supposed to have another convention today where they are going to decide about the leadership of the party. So,
you know this,
it's a crisis with no end in sight.
Yeah, do you see the hand of, because we do see the hand of external influence in all these crises. We looking at what some insinuations in some quarters, even Atiku El-Rufai said it that the ruling party is trying to bring trouble into the opposition parties in the country. Do you agree that you see internal influence is what's happening in the Labour Party?
Well,
outsiders
we cannot
we
cannot totally divorce what is happening in the Labour Party from the influence of of external forces, because every opposition party, a formidable one at that, like the Labour Party, is a government in waiting, while the ruling party is a government in power. So, with what the momentum and the movements at the level of victory the Labour Party was able to garner in 2023, the number of votes the Labour Party was able to garner in 2023 general election, it's actually certain that the fear of Labour Party come 2027 is going to be the beginning of wisdom. So definitely the ruling party, it's actually going to be on its toes to ensure that these people do not have the party together to come up as a formidable platform, and also as a united front to confront the ruling party or any other party at that in 2027 election. So one cannot absolutely divorce this from the external influence, just like has been insinuated in some quarters.
Oh, with the way the crisis is going now, what do you What do you see? I know you are not so say, but what do you see? Do you see the party being strong enough for 2027 to challenge the
Well,
to challenge the APC or to be that formidable opposition that they were in 2023 with the way the crisis have actually divided the party so far?
I think what I'm going to say is that it is time for the party, all the political gladiators in the party, to close their rank and look inward, settle their differences, and come up strong out of this.
Yes.
One party, there is no party, any strong party at that has not gone through this. So it's normal in any political party, especially when it comes to issue of power, because politics is about interest. So the fact that it's a political party does not mean there are no different interests within the party. So this is normal. But the ability of the party to come out strong from all of this is exactly what is expected.
Internal mechanism to resolve
what is
issues.
going to make a difference. Yeah, so they should be able to resolve their crisis, because as it stands, what the Labour Party failed to realize, and I mean the Abure fashion, although the presidential candidate of Labour Party in 2023 general election, who is Peter Obi, has not really spoken to the Supreme Court judgment, but reading from his mood, we all know where he belongs. So what I'm going to say is that it's actually, the Labour Party has been in existence for over 15 years. And not much has been heard about that party until they gave the presidential ticket to Peter Obi as the flag bearer of that party in 2023 general election. And that tells you about the fact that the popularity the Labour Party is enjoying today is attached to the personality of Labour Party and probably the influence of the obedient movement, the movement which is actually built around Peter Obi as the candidate of the party. What Julia Abure fashion of the party should be wary of, it's that momentum dying down and the movement that has made the party to be this popular not to actually go down or move away from the party.
What is your take on
the party
what is your take
what
on
it used to
plan
be
by
before the
the
emergence of Peter Obi as a presidential candidate?
Yes, what is your take on plan by the opposition leaders to form a coalition ahead of 2027?
What? About the issue of coalition, if you remember, if you look through the window of history, you discover that even the APC wrestled power from the PDP, who until 2015 had been in power for 16 years. You know, it took a merger of different political parties, about 4 of them at that, to be able to wrestle power. So it's not a bad idea. The merger or alliance of different opposition parties coming together to wrestle power from the but if this power is about power grab, if this merger or alliance is about power grab, I don't think it's good enough if it is not in the interest of the country. Because the ruling party actually promised when they were coming together that they were going to give us a new lease of life when they were taking over power from the PDP in 2015. But as Nigerians, we've not really seen that that change they promise us. So if the merger is actually going to be in the interest of Nigerians, why not? But if it's about power grab, just like the APC achieved, I don't think it's something that is desirable enough.
Thank you very much. I wish I had more time to speak with you on the program today. Thanks for your insight, Mr. Muso. I think I can call you congratulate you for your PhD now. It's about it's almost there now. I can call you a doctor now.
Very soon.
Congratulations. Thanks for joining us on Inside Politics.
Yeah.
Yes. This is all we can take for today for the program on Inside Politics on BDTV. Join us next week, same time. Keep watching BDTV.
You are watching Business Day Television.